Okay, we are up and running, and I think I got all my whatever you're gonna call it, advertisement, whatever, out there. Um, tell you the truth, I have no clue what I'm doing today. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll start this up. And I said to be determined because I was mostly just thinking I might do some little bit of talking here. I'm pulling up Redot and everything. Um, pardon me. Uh, so okay, I think I got some of the Princess Prep stuff ready to work. Um, I don't know if I'll be doing this everyday live streaming much longer. I'm not gonna stop making the game. Um, Although I really wanted to use this YouTube channel to document my progress. The problem is progress is slow as molasses. And the only way that I could think to speed it up, I mean, I try to get the AI to help me out with a process to actually speed up me putting in the rest of these in between story beat decision points. But it's just taking way too long, and that doesn't mean I'm gonna stop doing it, even doing it this ways. But I'm still thinking, what would bring people in for the audience that I have in mind, which there may not be any. I mean, this is kind of niche. It's not niche in the way or niche. I used to say niche, and I used to call cash catch because I'm American and I'm not French, and regardless of whether or not the French pronounce it differently, American English is CACHE, and even in English, if it's supposed to be properly pronounced cash, I like you. I still like using the word catch. I mean, if you think about it, catch like a catch-all, like a catch, something that holds something, right? And that's what I always think of. And in fact, probably the word catch, CATCH in English, it's probably has its roots in wherever the word cash comes from, which is some Latin thing, right? Because French is a Latin language, as like Spanish and Italian and those. Um, but anyways, I digress. Like always, you guys always know that. And my audio's going right. Okay, good. Oh yeah, I guess I should. There's one thing I didn't do here. Let's refresh the live. Let's go to the live deal here, and I want to move Made with Restream around here, and I want to put it after the hashtag. I don't know if even the hashtags are necessary. I don't know if it serves a purpose in YouTube or not. If it actually really serves a SEO purpose or something. Pardon me. I just ate, so I'm I'm exploding all over the place. Okay, so let's go ahead and do part one. And okay, so I have one watching there, and I have one watching in YouTube. So one watching in big red and one watching in green, which is fine. And then here, let's just go ahead and refresh, and we'll reheat the chat. It says there's only one. That's okay. Many people will be watching. Not many people will watch anyways. except for you couple that are kind of like my friends online, you know, or however far you can be friends online, you know, because never only just chatting, you know, or whatever. Um, but yeah, let's just switch to desktop. It doesn't matter if I'm talking or not. We'll do it here like this. Um, so okay, so you know my original. Okay, so um, I don't know how many people know about the phase, whatever phases that I'm doing. It had to do with how I am able to wrap my mind around things that I need to do because an adventure game is kind of a big project. Even small ones are kind of involved because you got to be able to see where you're going. You don't necessarily have to have a plot to start with, but yeah, you'll eventually have to have some sort of a main storyline, and then you'll have to have an idea of locations. You'll maybe have to have an idea of how they're laid out, you know, what's connected to what, because eventually you're going to be making, people are going to be traveling it in the game, and it's a rather involved process. And so, um, a lot of the stuff I was having problems with was like things, um, visualizing certain things that I would need. And so I decided to break it up into what I call a phase system, where basically I start with the simplest form of adventure, which is a choose your own adventure. And not even a true choose your own adventure because it's not going to have multiple endings. It's only got one ending. It does have a main plot line, and the choices don't really affect your outcome. Well, not that they would anyways necessarily, but because really an adventure game, you're if you like those kind of games, you're doing it so that you're doing it for the story, regardless of whether everybody says that you have to let them play everything because it's a game and not a movie. You know, a lot of people will say that, but primarily, if you're playing this kind of game, you're doing it for the story. You're not doing it so that you can play it. If I'm playing a platformer, a 2D or 3D, it doesn't matter, or a first-person shooter, or a shoot 'em up, or you know whatever you have. If I'm doing those games, they're action games, they're Twitch games, they're reflex games, and they can have a story. That's fine. It doesn't matter if they have a story or not. You know, um, but you're primarily playing those games because they're fun to play. You like the challenge of the Twitch thing, or maybe you like the graphics and music and sound, you like the presentation, or you know, whatever. So the object of those is to play those, right? Well, people like me, I like actually watching other people play games, but basically the idea about a game is you want them to be able to play it. Now, a story based game, you still want to play it. I mean, I get that. I get the whole thing about skipping cutscenes is really like in 3D games, a lot of them, because the simple games before were just you shoot stuff and it didn't have that much of a story. Some of them might have had a little bit of something, a little bit of connection in between the levels or whatever, but that was never the primary focus. And then when shooters came around, story became more important, and originally it wasn't that important. Wolfenstein, you're basically you go until you face off with Hitler, then you face off with zombies, and uh, they have bosses and stuff, and so it's primarily in the old vein. But now there's a little bit more of a thread of a story. Um, but even that's not a primarily story-based game, right? On the other hand, interactive fiction or text adventures, as we used to call them, and really they just used to be called plain adventure games because we didn't have any graphics. For we had originally they had was teletype. They didn't even have monitors. And then later when they got monitors, and then somebody built the first adventure on um, I think some sort of mainframe. I forget. And now you have text actual text you can work with. You got some memory, and then eventually trickled down to personal computers, and then and so they've primarily been story-based mediums. So when you're playing a text adventure, you're still playing like you're reading a book, but then you get to affect the outcome. Then you get to the challenge of figuring out what the main character figures out, stuff like that. But still, primarily the story. You're still following a story. You're not just doing it just to do it. If it was just a collection of just puzzles and stuff, I mean, yeah, puzzle games. Maybe that's fun for somebody. You know, it's like those hidden object games. They don't really need that much of a story. They can have a little bit of a story to set up a atmosphere or whatever, but they're not. You know, you don't. You're doing that purely just to be able to pick. You know, it's like those old highlights books where they had hidden objects in this picture. You had to find all the hidden objects. You know, and it's kind of came out of that. But yeah, and also like with an RPG does have an emphasis on story. It usually has a main story plot line. Then it's got subplots, side plots, side quests, and its chief thing is to actually uh, level up, gain experience points. You know, level up your character so that you can get more powerful and fight more monsters. And that even that story is not quite as center as an adventure game. Adventure game is completely center. So the only two things that you do primarily in an adventure game is explore and reveal more of the story, right? Um, where was I going with this? Um, I forgot why I was talking about this. Um, so okay, so basically, I figured that the most basic form of an adventure that you could tell is a choose your own adventure. And like I said, not even a real one. It doesn't have multiple endings. It has a single purpose, which is to get to the end of the story, basically. And then you get to have choices along the way. You get to solve puzzles, and you get to reveal more of the story. That's your reward. Your reward is essentially the cutscenes, even though people don't want to do cutscenes anymore. You know, that is, they don't want to go through cutscenes. But like I said, an adventure game is primarily story driven. So cutscenes are welcome. In fact, used to love the cutscenes. I mean, that's the one thing that I liked was actually that. So that's primarily why I played it. I played it so I could get to the next cutscene and see the next bit of animation or whatever. It wasn't entirely that. It was more the story itself, but it revealed through the cutscenes. You know, so like when I get to see a cutscene, it was great because that means I hit up the next plot point, the next story point, and then it sets you up for the next bit bit of playing that you do. So um, so my choose your own adventure is not a true. It's basically, in fact, it's not even. There isn't even a lot of straight up choices that actually like branching paths. Like it doesn't have many branches. It all goes back to the same. It's like um, I don't know what others have called it. I always called it the string of pearls configuration because of the movie The Rock. If you ever remember The Rock, where Nicolas Cage's character um, opens up this weapon, this missile, and in it is this biological agent, and they're little balls, like little glass balls or whatever they're made of, glass or whatever, um, filled with this biological chemical agent in it. And so the idea of setting it up that way is that even if a missile can hit somewhere and maybe it doesn't do damage, maybe it doesn't detonate, maybe something happens. But with this, it's to make sure that whenever it hits, the little glass balls are broken open and the stuff gets out. And so he called it the string of pearls configuration because it's strung up like pearls, so like attached like with a little tiny thin wire or a string or whatever. And so that's the way I always pictured some of this. If you look at some of the adventure game like designs, a couple of them it had sort of the same idea, where basically you have these pockets, and these are your plot points. These will be your cutscenes, and then you get to play in between in between the plot points, and that's where your gameplay goes in, and it can balloon out. In other words, you can have a whole bunch of stuff going on in here, but it always goes back to the same point, which is goes to the next story beat. So that's the way I was setting this up. So in the phase system, I would start with a choose your own adventure style deal, where I'd have all the plot points, and then you'd have the decision points in between that get you from one plot point to the next, which is what I'm doing here, which is what this is. And then what I was going to do is I was going to make sure that the story of the game was only like a few screens, and I don't mean a few. I mean like right now, I have the 93 different pages uh, before the um, before I started actually adding in stuff in between them, and then now I'm up to like um, let's see if I can find it here. Let's open that in a new tab. Let's go to rooms. And as you can see here, I'm at 233 items. And that's only a quarter of the way. So, I may almost get up to 1,000 here, maybe, depending on how much time I take, how much it takes. But I was thinking of doing like maybe a max of 100 or less of total screens, total pages that you would have to go through. And each phase I would add to the engine, so to speak. I'd add to the feature set um, to expand it, and then I would also sort of unfold it. I'd add more scenes in between, and I would expand it out. And somehow I like lost track of that. And so what ended up doing is I ended up making the plot outline till I was done to a point of where I'd have to start putting stuff in there, and I started putting stuff in between each of the pages, which means that this is taking so long, so ridiculously long. Yeah, no, I'm wasting time. Maybe I'll waste time today. You know, I was off for a week, and now I'm back on for another 2 weeks, and then maybe I'll be off again. I don't know. It depends on if anybody comes in here, or if anybody continues to watch or whatever. I get that fee trickle thing. They say all you just need a ton of them. Well, I have 600 old stuff, you know and I haven't seen anybody look at that yet. In other words, my views for those have not gone up. My subscribers have not gone up. My subscribers have gone up since then by a few, 50 or so maybe. And then I had about 100 from way before 2019. So way before I started on this deal, before I had the 600. So I had like 100 something subscribers, and then I got 50 or so more, and then now I got 50 or so more, and I'm up to, I don't know how many subscribers I'm up to right now. Let's see something here. Uh, let's open that in a tab. I know you can't see it. That's all right. Um, let's see. Let's just go to analytics, I guess. How many subscribers do I have total? I have 187 subscribers, which is not horrible. It's not very good though. I mean, I've seen half the time they're girls though. They're cute girls, like the one that is learning Blender, and she's got beautiful brown eyes, and she's nice to listen to and stuff. And shoot, if you're a girl, you got enough up on the thing right there. They'll just watch you if you're even slightly good looking. You don't even have to be that good looking necessarily. But so I see some of these people that have only had their channel up and running like a week or maybe a few months, and already they're getting, you know, several thousand subscribers, and tens of thousands of views, and I'm doing this every day. I was doing it every day, and now I'm doing it every weekday, and now I'm just doing it every weekday for 2 weeks, and then taking a week off now. But I've done a whole lot. I don't get hardly anybody. Why? Probably just because my contact sucks. Probably because maybe I don't have stuff optimized well. It's probably a bunch of different reasons. Primarily, it's probably just because it's crap, right? It's not that interesting. I know when I'm animated about my story because I like my story a lot, and people like hearing me talk about my story, or at least those that are the non-programming kind of people. And then we have the separate programming people, and and that's really all I'm getting, and I'm not even getting many of those either, right? So so originally I would have had maybe a max of 100 pages. I wouldn't have had all of these. I wouldn't have had you know 150 or so pages. Um, that's good information. Well, Pero, thanks for watching or listening, whatever you're doing. Uh, I have a friend that mostly listens, so he puts it on in the background, so he's actually not watching the stream, but he's listening to the stream. Anyways, yeah, thanks. So like, so I'm not getting that many subscribers, and I'm kind of going, do I want to continue doing this because it's like I'm not getting anywhere with it. That's nothing to do with me wanting to finish the game. I want to finish the game. But like I said, originally I was going to make the game in each phase short, and I was going to add to the game in each phase, just like I was adding to the whole system, right? Because the next phase is going to be something like I'm going to separate the navigational controls from the actual choices that you do in room choices, because most of the stuff you're doing is going somewhere, and so if they can be on separate deals, then that can kind of be looking towards the future when you actually are controlling your character independently. So I was going to do that. I was going to get this done in a few months. It would be quick and easy, and then I would have something to show, and then what pops out, right? And then eventually I was just going to keep building. And so by the time I got to adding all the graphics and the animations and background music and whatever else you wanted, voice acting or whatever, uh, if I ever got that far, um, I would have less to do at each phase, right? I wouldn't have that much to do as far as okay, so if I did this from scratch and I'd have to make the systems, and yeah, there's some systems for different things. There's a few like indie deals for like Godot for doing an adventure game. Unity actually has Adventure Creator, and there's probably a couple more, but Adventure Creator is the one that I know of. Um, if you if you ever watch the Point and Click podcast, it's the guy that makes this a game called Big Boss Inc., which just released a couple of months ago um, on Steam, and it's an adventure game that he created using this thing. And so if I'm doing this from scratch, it would take a long time. Maybe it wouldn't take any longer than what I'm doing now. So I'm not judging that based on how long the whole thing is going to take. Obviously, if I separate it into phases and I have a complete game at each phase, and I do it that ways, obviously, um, uh, what did I say? Um, Obviously, it's going to take longer than if I had just did it from scratch, started with the end result, which is fully interactive 2D point and click adventure, or with some 3D, because I plan to, if I get far enough, I might make the backgrounds actually 3D environments, and of course your characters are to be sprites. Some of your props will be sprites, and it will have the hand painted animated cartoon look, and yet it'll move in perspective and stuff. It'll be kind of cool. It'll look kind of like rotoscoping almost. Like you'll see a background. And it looks like a nice painted background, but then the camera will move and it will move in perspective, and everything will move with it, and it'll look really cool. Anyways, that's really not that important. But okay, so the idea was to do that, and then somewhere along the line, I started doing like this whole thing, right? So, and I don't even know if I have even like, well, I do have a version of the rooms, a couple of versions that I put on backup. So it's very possible I could kind of go back to them if I wanted to start over. And I don't really want to start over, but at the same time, I might end up starting over because I sort of went far afield from what I was doing. The whole reason that I was setting this up and doing this was so that I would make quick progress, quick enough that people would want to watch. Because the one thing that everybody likes is they like to see something come together. You know, when you're watching stuff, when you're watching other people do Ludum Dares, the thing that's popular with the Ludum Dare challenges is the time lapses. So all get together for a weekend, and for 2 days they work on a game based on a theme, and they got certain restrictions and blah blah blah. And so they make this game, and then they usually time lapse their development so that you can see everything that goes on. And people like watching the time lapses. I mean, you get to just watch tons of time lapses and not really be interested even in the making of the game that much. Or you might like a game and the time lapses make it look really a lot cooler and stuff. So, the main thing about it is the progress. If you can see quick progress and you can see something happening, then I think probably I would have gotten more viewers, or I would get more viewers if I focused on that. I don't know for sure because I don't know that much about this streaming or videos or anything like that. But I do believe that the progress is what would keep people interested. Now, because of the way I'm doing this now, though, this is just taking ages and ages, and I'm really struggling with whether or not I want to start over, or if I want to just continue doing what I'm doing and just be slow until it's done. I mean, I could do that if I did that. Okay, so there's an advantage, right? So the pro of doing it, continuing to do it this way, is even though it's slow getting to the end, when I'm done, each of the phases should be fairly fast. It will be a matter of more of the engine side of it. In other words, building the adventure game engine to be able to do like inventory and have a parser. I mean, eventually it'll be point and click, but I'm going to put in a parser first because that was the next step. That'd be the next step, right? So once I got all these other things done, a parser would be one of the phases, and then you could type in commands, right? In fact, it'll be to a point of where the choices are the same, and you'll be picking 1, 2, 3, or 4. But instead of just hitting a key that corresponds to your choice, you'll actually be typing in a choice because it will actually be parsing that as a command instead of just as a button press. So it'll actually be taking it in as a command. You'll hit 1 and enter instead of just 1 and go to the next page. So it'd be a little extra work. I mean, it's not going to be that big of a deal, really. But so the real advantage here is that essentially I'll be front loading everything, which means I'll have the story locked down pretty well. This is sort of like storyboarding. It's sort of like locking your story down like a pre-production, except for I'm taking it into production. I'm essentially merging pre-production and production, basically. Is what I'm doing. Because pre-production, everything out there is lacking terminal. Okay. Um. So Okay. So let's look at an animated feature, for instance. Now, I've never made an animated feature. In fact, I've dabbled in animations. I wanted to be originally be an animator at one point, but I've never actually created. I created little sample animations, little quickie things here and there, little things for various small games and stuff, but never like a full on, like I made a full on short or a feature or anything like that, or worked on a feature or whatever. Never been in the business or anything like that. But from what I remember from the books I read and that I studied, primarily about Disney animation, and I mean classic as in Walt Disney was still alive, from the 60s and 1960s and back, basically. So they have this production process, and so they work on their story. They'd have some, I think they do some concept sketches and stuff, and eventually, and then the character designs, and eventually they would develop these into storyboards. So they have a script they come up with, and then they create the storyboards, which are little pictures kind of describing, and then when once all that was finalized, then they compile it into what they call a what do they call that? A story reel. They called it a story reel because basically what it did is it took the storyboard images and put them together, and with maybe there was some audio recorded, maybe there wasn't, temp music maybe or something, and it would show the story as it would play out in the actual animation. Okay, and then once that was finalized, then it would go to animation and would go to your chief animators, your and layout would go and do start working on the backgrounds, start working on like the heights and the camera moves and what's going to be in the backgrounds, and then the main character animators they would do roughs for the main character animations, and then they'd be handed out to in-betweeners who would actually do the in-between animations. They'd smooth them all out, then they'd go to clean up, and they trace over them each of the frames of animation, and then once cleanup was done, then it would go to ink and paint. And I'm not trying to tell you the whole full production process, but the pre-production is the story, the storyboard, the story reel, and then chunking in the animations, the rough animations, the roughs, right? Because they start with the rough reel, so they patch in the roughs into the story reel. In fact, what's funny is Walt Disney, when he was working on Snow White, when they were working on Snow White, um, what they at some point they'd run out of money, and it was all fairly incomplete. They had some of this. I think they still had some storyboard images in the story reel. Um, they had some rough animations. They might have had a few completed things, some backgrounds. They probably had the whole dialogue, the audio. In fact, the audio is usually recorded first so that the animators can animate to it. So that would be part of pre-production. Um, and so, what was I getting to? Oh yeah, Snow White. So they were straight out of money, and they set up a meeting with the Bank of America president, I guess, or whoever handles their accounts or whatever. And the guy from Bank of America came down, and they showed him the story reel, and it was completely incomplete, rough. They didn't have all the animations in. They didn't have anything finalized, pretty much. And by the time they got to the end of the movie, he gave them whatever they needed. He was like, "Here, this is gonna make millions or whatever. Here, all the money you need, right?" And why was I telling you that? I was telling you that for a reason. What was the reason? I don't know. I always do that too. I got ADHD, and so I'll say something and I'll forget my original point. Anywho, So essentially, I am basically merging pre-production with production, basically. So okay, so that's kind of the way it went for an anime feature. Well, let's go for a game now. I don't really know a lot about the games. I mean, I've studied. I mean, I played plenty of games, but I studied some design documents. I've read some stuff about how they made games and stuff. But I don't know all the processes. But I think some of the processes are similar to like an animated feature, you know. And your chief designer would go in and he or she would write the story and ideas for puzzles and this sort of thing. And so I don't know what am I trying to say here. See, this I'm a dunderhead, is what I am. Um, so okay, so we're I guess we're into pre-production and production. We're kind of merging those in. So essentially, this is what I'm doing here is I'm finalizing the story. So this is like making a storyboard is what I'm doing here. I'm making a essentially a storyboard that's not pictures right now. It's just a text storyboard, right? Um, and so that's what these are. These are storyboards. So, okay, so let's go back to the thing. So the advantage of sticking to this method is that I'll have everything in the story locked down as much as I can possibly do it. I'll have places where I can put puzzles in. I already have ideas for puzzles because I've set them up to where they're essentially what you would do. This would be like a walkthrough. This would almost be like a walkthrough, right? You make the choices. Let's see. Let's see what this is. Let's check out this lapsoid here. Let me open this up. Pick a random thing. When John wakes up, he sits, looks around, and noticing they seem to be in a leafless forest. Getting to his feet, he notices other passengers walking around, gathering belongings and searching for loved ones. A dwarf starts screaming for some item he's looking for. Hit one if you want John to ask the dwarf what he's looking for. Hit two if you want John to start searching for anything unusual that the dwarf might want. Okay. Um, and that's not even a puzzle there. That's not even where I'd beat a puzzle. I mean, there might be, but I'm not doing like it's not like inventory puzzle. Let me see if I can find a better example. It's gonna be one of the ones with the nine. Um, see something here. Maybe this would be a good thought here. As Chester flying about, he notices his friend Shade flying low, breathing fire in a small village. Chester's first instinct is to protect the villagers, so he ponders a few methods to subdue his friend. He wishes to ram into Shade before he starts another run. Hit two if you wish to grab at Shade's tail in order to get him off balance. Hit three if you wish to shoot a warning blast past Shade. Right. So the problem here is your friend is or Chester's friend I should say, not your friend per se, but Chester's friend is he's becoming an evil dragon. Um, and maybe if the dragons were real, assuming that they were ever real, which I almost still think that they were. I think there's this theory that dragons are really dinosaurs. Um, and I think and the implication was something like dinosaurs are a specific type of dragon or whatever, something like that. I always thought of a dragon being a specific type of dinosaur. You have pterodactyls, right? Even a pterodactyl could be a dragon. It flies. Maybe some of them breathe fire. Who knows? And every civilization has this myth about dragons. So there's a good chance that uh, that's not a myth, right? Um, the Bible talks about it describes Satan as being a dragon, and so dragons were a thing, anyways, even if they weren't a physical animal, which I do think they were. So it's like the quote unquote flood myth. Every civilization, ancient civilization, has a flood myth, right? Including Christianity, although I don't believe it's a myth. fact, the reasons they all have the quote unquote myth is because it's not a myth. It's a real thing that happened. The flood actually happened. And you can see the evidence of it in all these civilizations. It just so happens that I believe the biblical account of the way it happened, you know. Um, so it's not that it didn't exist. It's that what way did it exist? Why I believe that it happened the way it happened in the Bible, not other, other reasons for the flood. But anyways, just that's just to say that because there's so many dragon myths, I don't believe they were myths. I believe they're actual dragons, and I don't believe they were just dinosaurs. They you might classify them as dinosaurs, but I believe that they were their own like species, right? We have different breeds of dogs and different. Well, it's not really a good thing. Let's let's say we got have dogs, cats, and foxes. Foxes are sort of the Canis family, so they're kind of related to dogs according to our modern classifications. But they are their own distinct animal. They're their own thing. You could describe them as being a cross between a cat and a dog, with a penchant for trouble or whatever. But um, so what was I saying? What was I saying that for? Um, I forget what I was saying that for. About dragons, something to do with dragons. Anyways, let's get back to what I'm doing. I'm just doing it bad today. I probably need some sleep. I do have ADHD. I don't have anything diagnosed. I was diagnosed with hyperactivity disorder, hyperactivity basically, when I was a kid. If I ate anything with artificial coloring in it, I would just go nuts, right? That combined with the sugar makes you nuts anyways. But then when you have this hyperactivity thing based on eating artificial colors, then you got something really to worry about. And so, while that's kind of tame now, um, I still have whatever that is. I still have attention deficit. I mean, it's the same thing. I was put on Ritalin for a short period of time until my dad noticed how crazy I was acting and made sure that they took me off it. But I still have whatever that is. And in fact, my dad might have it. My whole family might have it. I'm not sure. So I'll start on a thing, and then I'll do something that kind of illustrates something, and then I'll forget what my original point was, and there you go. So you have to bear with me. Okay, so getting back to the story. All right. I realize this is a kind of a do nothing day, and that's just because I'm coming off of the break and I'm still questioning whether or not what I want to do as far as from here on out. I might reduce the amount of streams to maybe once a week, and maybe I'll still work on the game by myself, but you won't have to see all the extra stuff in there. I wanted you to see everything. That was my whole point. My whole purpose was that you could see everything. But I'm seeing that this is not very interesting because if it was interesting, there'd be a lot more viewers. I have a lot more people watching the streams. I have a lot more people looking at the updates. And suffice to say, it's just something not working, and I don't know what it is, and I have no idea of how to get something that works. I mean, I do. There's a thing if okay, so if I wanted to be a straight up YouTuber and YouTube was my only goal, and my goal wasn't my game, I'd probably be, I don't know, looking at health or wealth or something, how to get more viewers, whatever. I'd find a niche, I'd pick it, I'd have a bunch of ideas from it. I'd come up and I'd make that my whole career, my whole life, basically. Probably be successful. I think. I think not because I'm particularly talented or anything, but just because um, the ones that are getting the uh, the subscribers and the viewers are the ones that are doing something that people are interested in, right? They're not working on one project. They're even the tutorial ones. Even if let's say if I started, I was going to say, okay, I'm going to do programming tutorials. I'm even going to do Blender or game development tutorials or whatever. I don't think I'm even good for any of that. But let's just say, for instance, that I pick a niche. It doesn't really even matter which niche it is. I'm sure I could do everything that they say to do. Optimize my thumbnails, make sure I have catchy, grab you hook in the beginning, rapid fire editing, although now more natural editing styles being preferred, I guess, because YouTube decides what they want to promote. It's really at the mercy of YouTube or Rumble. You could say Rumble's maybe a little bit less organized that ways, but as far as how they handle stuff. But their whole goal is to make money, and to make money, they know that they can manipulate trends. It's not just that something is trending; it's that they actually create the trend. You know, telling you like it's like those guys that tell you how you can get more views and subscribers and how you edit and stuff. The YouTuber, the vidIQs, the TubeBuddy, and those are actual plugins and services you can pay for. But the reason join the Rumble. Okay, good. Um, yeah, Fender. Okay, I'm assuming you're say join the Rumble. You mean the Rumble stream, which is, I guess, your platform of choice, which is cool, which is fine. Okay, so basically, what I'm trying to go through here is I'm trying to go through this thing of deciding whether or not I want to continue streaming the way I've been streaming and making the updates the way I've been doing it, or if I want to do a new tact, or if I want to restart, or whatever. Um, so um, now, of course, now I've got distracted again, and it's not your fault. It's just I get distracted really easily, and I forget about my original point. Okay. Anyways, so uh, what was I saying? Um, what was I saying? I was talking about the streaming. Oh, I was just talking about getting the views and stuff. And so I'm pretty sure I could find a way of becoming a successful YouTuber if I was going to be a successful YouTuber. In other words, I pick a niche. In fact, I pick either there's two schools of thought. Either you pick a niche that nobody's doing, that's underserved, that people might have interest, or you pick a niche that's highly saturated because there is always somebody there. The highly saturated way is probably the better way. Why? Because people are already searching for that. They're already looking at the saturated market. That's why it's saturated, and you can actually be successful in a saturated market because of that. And I'm not even saying about whether or not you're differentiate yourself from somebody else or whatever. It just means that there's that many people that like looking at that thing that are always looking for it. Like I'm always looking for things that say that will make you rich. You know, I've never done anything. I don't do a sales thing. I mostly just watch the videos. And then usually it's kind of a letdown because of what they say. You have to do this, that, the other thing, and usually it's I don't know. It's either common stuff that everybody knows, or it's something that maybe you can't do at the time. A lot of them say you got to solve a problem. Uh, to make money, you have to find a problem that there is, and then find a way to solve that problem. And you're like going, well, how do I do that? Nobody ever tells you to do that. They just tell you that you need to solve a problem, and then they talk about all the millions you can make and stuff. So, anyways, I'm always on the lookout for that. So that means that if I'm always on the lookout for that, then I could actually come up with videos that tell you how to get rich, and regardless of whether or not I'm actually correct, and since I'm not rich yet, my expertise would be dubious, of course. But um, I'm sure even in something like that I didn't know anything about, I could figure out how they do what they do, and I could replicate it, and I could be successful, fairly successful. Maybe not super successful, but maybe more than what I've got now. So if I really wanted to do it that ways, I mean, I could do it. Maybe I should because I don't have any money, right? And I'm not contributing, and I don't have a job right now. So, in fact, it looks like there's the health clinic right now that's giving me my blood pressure medication, basically. They have a discount program that I've always been on for several years now that I've been using it. And this time, when we were submitting the proof, the lady said that she doesn't think I'll qualify for the discount program. That means that my last checkup was to go in there and meet my new doctor because the old one moved somewhere, and then there was an interim guy that gave me my medicine somewhere in the middle, but I guess he's not the regular one there. So the one that I got, and actually it's not a doctor, it's a registered nurse. I only get registered nurses just partly because of the state of the medical system and the money and all that, and also just because of what they prioritize. Anyways, so I got charged 157 bucks for them taking my blood pressure and writing it down and writing my prescription. I still had to pay for the prescription, but for seeing the registered nurse, not even a real doctor, a full doctor, I should say. Registered nurses are registered nurses. They're full, professionals. So I'm not knocking that. I'm not saying that that's any lower than a doctor, really. But in a sense, I'm kind of saying, yeah, because this is what they do. Is they do this, and this is kind of what's wrong with our medical system is that not only do they charge you for drugs, but somebody could come in, a doctor could come in and look at your chart like a real hospital, looking at your chart, and then charge you 600 bucks for it. In fact, that's what happened to my dad several years ago when he was admitted to the hospital. He had one guy, and I was there. Some doctor came in, and he wasn't even his doctor. It was just a random doctor that came in, looked at his chart, said a few things, and left. And it was like 600 buck charge for just for that. And it's like, I don't know, something's way screwy. It's not just the drug prices. But anyways, I digress, right? Um, so okay, so what reason am I doing this? Oh yeah. Um, so I don't have a job right now, and I now gonna get off the discount program where I have to pay a couple hundred bucks a pop, each visit. Now they want you to come in every 3 months, and then sometimes you can space it out to every 6 months. I can get 6 months worth of medicine or whatever, and so I don't have much prospect. So I almost should say, you know what? Forget about the game. That doesn't mean I have to stop the game, but I just mean forget about as far as the YouTube thing goes. Forget about the game. Focus on something that you are pretty sure would be more along the lines of making money. You know, that might make you more money. Um, and so I could probably do that, and maybe I should do that. And that's what I'm thinking of when I'm deciding these things. So okay, so let's go back to so this is why I want to make the YouTube thing work, right? I actually want to make money. It doesn't have to be YouTube. It can be Rumble. Um, Maybe I shouldn't say that on a live stream on being on YouTube, but whatever. They haven't flagged me for mentioning Mean Green there, but um, so yeah, and this is taking forever, and I'm like kind of like getting nowhere. That's not true. I'm not getting nowhere, but um, what I want to do I want an audience that likes watching behind the scenes stuff and likes to watch you make stuff, basically. And it just so happens to be a game. And I don't necessarily want like just programmers. I don't mean I don't want programmers at all. Programmers that like to program. I'm doing programming, right? I'm doing some coding, and so you'll find something of interest to you on here. But I also just want people in general just like making things, like seeing people make things. Like like to watch the behind the scenes stuff on the DVD, listen to the audio commentaries. I like to watch the making of games. Like to watch even making physical stuff. There's some overlap there. Somebody likes watching woodworking and wood turning, or somebody make furniture and stuff. I like this is the stuff I like looking at. I like seeing somebody make something out of nothing, basically, and it's really cool to me to watch that, even if I never do it myself. You know, building furniture, making cool furniture, or taking something that's something old and turning it into something cool and new, right? I like watching this sort of content. The same thing with games. I like to watch people make games and build games, and you know, and uh, and what's funny? Okay, so there's I don't know if you guys know about Blood Thief. In fact, it's about ready to be released if it's not already released. Um, and his name is Blargus. Here, let's go to YouTube. I obviously won't have the desktop audio on purpose, partly because I want to get tagged. Ooh, Loom. This guy Volt Silicon. Now he doesn't have that many subscribers, but you should go check him out. I assume it's him. It might not be him. I don't know. Um, but it has all these cool soundtracks. In fact, I was looking for what was I looking for that I asked him about? Um, let's see. I started listening to the Loom, the MT32. I don't really like listening to Roland MT32. There's two things. One is I got the nostalgic thing for the Sound Blaster / Adlib, the Sound Blaster soundtrack because I had Sound Blasters growing up. And so I know that. And then with Loom in particular, I played the CD audio version, so it had like expertly produced. It might have been keyboard or something. I don't know. Whatever LucasArts was using at the time, or Lucasfilm Games. It was probably still Lucasfilm Games here with Loom. But why did I go here? I guess I just did this because it's cool. Space Quest. He had Space Quest 3 in like Roland MT or somewhere down the line here somewhere. And I asked him. I said, I don't really remember. I don't really care for the MT32 version because yeah, exactly. That's why I like it. And so I asked them, it'd be great if you had the AdLib slash it's AdLib OPL2, right? It'd be cool if he had that, and he actually made a soundtrack of it. He's got access to the game somehow, and is able to extract the music. I guess I'm not really sure. So I listened to this a little bit, and I was like, oh, that's okay. The MT32. I'm kind of used to the dealie. I said that, but I might be interested in the AdLib / Sound Blaster version because that's the sound I remember the most. Not that I don't think I've ever heard Loom soundtrack on AdLib, but I did ask him, so I'm gonna have to listen to that pretty soon. Anyways, I should I should go off. He's got lots of cool soundtracks if you're into soundtracks. At Volt Silicon, and a lot of these are for DOS games. Might have some Windows stuff or something, or something else, but mostly vintage computer game soundtracks. Video game music featuring soundtracks from classic PC games and more. Whether you're a fan of these games or simply appreciate the great music. Anyways, it's at Volt Silicon, so go there. You won't be sorry. And there's the end of my advertisement. He didn't ask me to do that or anything. I saw it pop up here, and I'll have to listen to that later. 2-minute papers why gamers will never see hair the same way again. Okay, I don't care about that. What am I looking for? I am looking for a good example of something that I almost kind of want to aspire to as far as being a YouTuber. So let me find Blargus here. It's in alphabetical order, so hopefully Blargus. He recently released his trailer, his actual release trailer. Oh, I gotta watch this. Watch any of these. These are devlogs. They're expert devlogs. I mean, they're totally what you'd want to do if you made them. In fact, he's got let's see, he's got 103K subscribers. That's a lot of subscribers. I have barely 200 subscribers. 103. That's pretty good. But obviously, part of it is because he has a great game, and the other part of it is because of how long he's been in here. Well, he's only 2 years old, but how to import Blender models into Godot 4, Godot Reset tracks explained, and then not long after he started his first devlog. Anyways, watch these devlogs are awesome. Blood Thief looks like a hoot, and I might even buy it, even though I probably never end up playing it. Here, I'll watch the trailer. You have to watch it without sound. You have to actually go to Blargus's and it's called Blargis. If you don't already know, Blargus. It's called Blood Thief. But if you look at here, what it is it's like this like speed running kind of hack and slash kind of deal, and the emphasis is on speed running. The emphasis is just going through doing these moves and killing these enemies, and you know somebody mentioned Ghost Runner in the daily, but yeah, there you go. You probably already know about it because you already know about it. But to me, this looks really fun. It's essentially '90s style gaming. I think the guy really liked the old school, Dooms and Quakes and whatever. Um, it's a really fun game. But the one thing that also makes it really cool is his devlogs, like I was saying. Somehow he's able to inject some humor. He's able to tell you what he did, and it's not boring at all. It's completely 100% interesting. They're all like 20 minutes a piece, or give or take. Some are 15, some are like this one's 25, this one's 13 minutes. But all of them are worth watching and listening to. It's really great commentary on how he made his game, and this is almost kind of what I wanted to aspire to. But the way I'm doing my game, my phases for one thing. For the other thing, is just I don't have anything visual yet. I won't have anything visual for a long, long time, which is why I'm also thinking about whether I'm going to keep doing things the way I'm doing them or not, or then I'm going to start over or whatever. So kind of back to this, right? So I guess I won't get anything done today. That's okay. It's just it usually takes me a little bit to get started anyways after being off of a long break to kind of regather and regroup. But in any case, so I'll still make some progress on the layout tool, which will be in part 2, which will be at like 2 o'clock, 2 to 3:30, I think. Anyways, so my original intention was to take these, and I was actually going to combine several pages so that at most for the total thing, all you'd have is 100. Actually, if I combined all of these ones as they existed, um, these would actually be less than that. Maybe they'd be 10 or 20 pages, and then I'd have choices in there, and I would have only a max of like 100, right? So I'm kind of going, what should I do? Should I continue doing what I'm doing, even if it's going to take slow? Because like I said, if I get one done, let's say I get one done a week, I guess, or no, let's say I get one done a day, which is even that's a little bit fast. But I think I could do that. I think I could, if I use the whole time to work on one story point, I'm pretty sure I could get it to one per. And what I have here, I have about, actually, let's count them. I can actually count them. And not by the way you think, but by looking at the one I'm looking at, Princess Prep. So Princess Prep is 016 Princess Prep. Okay. And I'm going to have to rename all these stupid locations too. In fact, a lot of the multiple locations, the ones that have the actual extra numbers, like this Night School Part Pool 4, because they're a different screen, they're going to have a different location connected to them. So it's going to be a pretty much a mess, and it's going to take a while just to rename everything. And I'll probably have to do it manually. I probably won't be able to automate it because I'll have to maybe if I have the list of files in the order that they're supposed to be in, like in this order, then maybe I can come up with something that orders them. Or like I said, if I add more of these things here and renumber them, maybe I can renumber them or something somehow. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's look and see how many I have left. So we're at Princess Prep, 016 Princess Prep. Okay, so let's go down to 016. Actually, here, okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to here. That's 110 items. So I have 110. That's weird. It's weird that I have 110 left when I only had 93 to start with. So I actually have more. That's weird. Oh, yeah, okay. That's not because of that. Well, dang. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I think the last thing was the Incinerator, Castle Throne Room, Castle North, Castle Terrace, Battlefield. This is the last one, right? John, further questions are actually part of the upper part because I had to put in new locations. These are the old locations. Okay, so let's okay, 59. So I have 59 old locations. That's actually better than I thought. I thought I had like something like 70 or something. But apparently I'm actually down to 59. That's not bad at all, honestly. That almost is an excuse to continue on the way I've been doing it. Okay, so let's just say I get this done. Okay, to make it easy on myself. Let's make it 60. Okay, I get 20 days a month. That doesn't include weekends. So 4 week months. I know there's maybe a 5 week month in there somewhere or whatever, occasionally or whatever, but 4 week months, and I get one done, so I get 5 done a week, so I get 20, so I get 20 done a month. Okay, that's gonna be 3 months. So I'll have at least 3 months if I'm able to do one day. Now some of these have been taking like weeks just to get down to this part down here. So, but if I'm able to get it to a reasonable level, then this is going to take about 3 months of work to do. That's working straight through 3 months. So 3 months from now is what is 3 months from now? October is 1 month, November two, and December is three. So if I'm lucky, if I'm good and lucky, I will be done. Oop, oh, wait a second. What am I doing here? Okay. Anyways, if I am lucky, I will get done by the end of the year. That's if I'm lucky. It's been going along this way it's been doing it. Now you're talking 60 weeks, and 60 weeks is how many years? 60, that is 60 months. No, 60, okay, 60 weeks. 60 weeks is how many months? 15 months. That's a year and a half, roughly. It's not really a year and a half, but it's almost a year and a half. Let's say a year and a half. So, and that's not even, that's if I'm able to manage just to keep it under a week for for uh, for a single plot point, story beat. So at the earliest, I can get done by 2026. By the latest, I will be done in 2027, middle of 2027. Right? That's just on this phase. That's just on this part. So you see when I'm going to go in, man, I'm spending all this time and it's just taking this long, right? I'll try for the one a day. It's doable. It'll be kind of tricky a little bit, but it will be doable. Anything further than that will be, you know, like if I could get done in like 10 minutes, I could do 10 minutes per page, right? 10 times 60, that's 600 minutes. Let's see. Let's do some calculators. If I could get it done in 10 minutes, 600 minutes divided by 60, of course, is 100. No. Back. Where's the backspace? What? I did backspace. I didn't, like, kill the whole thing. 600 divided by 60 is 100, right? So that's going to be 100 hours. 100 hours, okay? And I'm only getting, we'll say I'm only getting about 3 a day. Divided by 3 is 33. Oh, about a month. Maybe roughly over a month. So I could conceivably, if I was able to get it down to 10 minutes a beat, which I don't think I can do. I might be able to. I might be able to come up with a process. That's what I was trying to do, but that didn't necessarily work out. So, uh, so yeah. So if I could get it down to about 10 minutes per beat, where I only spend that much time on it, then I could get this done in about a month, and that would be okay. It wouldn't be ideal, but it would be fine, because at least then I get the deal. Okay, so the big pro in that is that if I get all of these done, then I've got all of my storyboards. Everything that I can make a puzzle off of, I can use from that. I won't have to think up stuff to do it. I might have to think of puzzles. I might have to, I mean, it'll take some time to be able to do that. But that's the advantage of just going the slow route. I don't mean being slow. Especially if I can speed it up, I'll speed it up regardless. But if I just go just what I'm doing, story beat to story beat, and I get all the things in, then it's like I front loaded most of the story, right? Okay, so the pro there, the one major pro about that, other than the fact that I've got a good chunk of them, it means I've got about 30 story beats done already, right? 30 story beats worth. I have more, it's 100 and something pages, but the original amount of story beats was like 93, so I'm down to like 59. So, that's about 30, right? So 30 means I'm about a third of the way through of my game. So that's a thing against starting over. Okay, so the big deal is if I do this, I'll have everything done, and then that means all the other phases that come after it is just going to be super quick, right? Well, won't be super quick, but it'll be reasonably faster than otherwise. Okay, so the con is that it can take a way long time. At the average, it'll be about a year and a half. I don't want to take a year and a half. So the quickest I can do it, the quickest I can do reasonably is 3 months. The soonest I can finish quickly, but is a little bit pressed because it'll be a little bit hard to only spend 10 minutes trying to think up stuff, because it takes me forever just to do it. So 10 minutes per story beat might be pushing it. I might not be able to do that. It might be close to impossible. Well, even 30 minutes a deal would actually be some help. So even if I couldn't do it in 10 minutes, but I could do it in anywhere between 10 and 30 minutes, or 10 and an hour, would be greatly useful. Okay, so that's the deal. Going through these, it's going to be slow. Now, I haven't told you about another complication, or it's not really a complication. It's another thing that's going to make it take even longer. And this, I won't even really have I still have to do this step. Although in the other phases, there'll be a pro to doing it the other way, restarting, whatever. And I'm still leaning towards not restarting, because I'm looking at how far I'm already, and all I have to do is I got to finish those, and then I'll be doing good. But the unforeseen drag on time is, even if I could get, let's say I was so expert that I could get this done 10 minutes a piece, I get this thing done and knocked out in a month. So now I have all the pages that I'm going to ever need. I mean, occasionally there might be some, give or take a few, right? Um, so then what I have to do is now I have to do a narrative pass. A narrative pass is going to be me actually coming up with actual story, right? Now, these are the events that happen in the pages, but this is not told as a story like you'd read in a novel. Let's see here. So the conclusion: Hubert Dawes' mysterious figure enters in some sort of device, turns it on, able to pluck the scepter from the trophy case via mini portal. Okay. Um. Okay. Let's here. I don't know how I would render that. So let's go to the next one of the next ones and seeing if I can do it with so it easily can render it out here in a second on when I'm on stream. Okay, so Hubert thinks this looks like the work of none other than Maximilian Spell, the evil sorcerer that was banned for trying to take over the other realms. Okay, so so in the narrative, I might say something like, as Hubert's looking over the scene, uh, and realizing that uh, actually, let's see something here. Let's see what the one before it said, because it's hard for me to render just from off the top of my head. And that's going to be another thing that's going to drag time down because I'm going to have to think of this what I wanted to say in here. Okay, so this is the conclusion that he draws, right? So he's reconstructed the crime, and the crime is that the scepter was stolen via mini portal. So somebody came in with a device, turned it on, reached in through the mini portal that was open inside the glass case, pull out the scepter, and then close the mini portal and absconded with it. Right? Stolen it. Okay, so he's absconded, whatever. Stolen it. So he's figured out he's figured out the crime. He's figured out what this person did. This hooded figure that he can only barely see in his reconstructions. Um, so it might be something like as Hubert pieces together the information that someone came in and plucked the scepter out via mini portal. Uh, it suddenly dawns on him that Maximilian's spell must have done this because he's the only one that could do it, and it looks like his workmanship. You know, um, only an evil mastermind like Maximilian Spell could create a device that could make a mini portal. He's got such a devious mind, that one, or whatever. And even that's dumb, that's not exactly how I'd render it. But the idea is do a narrative rendering of the page so that it sounds like a story that you're reading, right? Hubert puts three hats on and certain Herbert says a few words. Hubert runs his hands over the case, feeling for anything unusual. He feels like something is knocking around in the case. Then it stops. Okay, so how would I do this narratively? How would I make it sound like a story more than just a series of events? Uh, Hubert reaches into his bag and pulls out three funny-looking hats and places them on his head in a particular order. Then he says a few magic words. Um, and then Hubert walks up to the glass case and then he puts his hands. I don't know. I'm not even saying it how I would read it either. uh, 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 let's see. What I'd make it descriptive, right? Uh, Hubert approaches and gingerly places his right hand on the top of the glass case, and closing his eyes and searching his mind and as his hand passes over each side of the case, trying to feel it for any disturbance. Out of the blue, something shakes his hand hard. He can't quite tell it, but it feels like there's something knocking against the inside of the case. You know, I'm not even telling you the right thing. You know how I would do it, but basically I have to go through each of these pages. Now, considering that, let's see, let's extrapolate here. It's almost time for me to end this part, anyways. Then we'll get to the layout tool, and maybe we'll actually get something done today with the layout tool. But anyways, okay, so let's go down to, like I said, 15. Right there, these ones, and that's 123 items. So if this is a third, that means that there are going to be approximately, we'll say, 400 pages total. So I'm going to have to go through each 400 pages, and I'm going to have to rewrite them as though you're reading a book. Okay? And that's going to take some time. Now, it might not take as long as it does for me to come up with the choices, right? So reasonably I can count on, let's just say at a reasonable daily, let's say I can get 3 done. Let's say I can get 4 done a day. 4 done a day. Okay. So that's 400 divided by 4, that's 100 days. And that's just if I'm doing good, right? 100 days. And 100 days divided by, roughly 30 days is about 3. So it's another 3 months. So even if I get this done in a month, even if I'm super quick with that, I get it done in a month, then it might be February before I actually get done with the narrative pass. So the narrative pass is going to take at least as long, if not longer. Well, I don't know. It shouldn't take longer because I already have everything done. I just got to put it in a narrative format, which I might be able to do a decent clip. Maybe if I'm lucky, I can do both of those in a month each, and I can get done by December sometime. I'll have phase 1 of my game done at the end of December. If I'm lucky. If I'm fast, if I'm good, if I don't spend too much time. Okay? So we're looking at the earliest, we're looking at the end of the year. Average time would be at the start of the next year, 2026, we'll say April-ish. Average time for doing both things would be April-ish. The worst case scenario is like 2 years or longer. You know, it's not going to be longer than that because I should be able to get several done. I might even be able to do the 1 a day thing as far as the narrative pass goes. So we can say that the narrative pass probably isn't going to take more than what did I say? But I said 1 a day. Now, if I do 1 a day, 4 a day is what I was saying. 4 a day would take me 3 months. I'd have to do 4 a day, wouldn't it? Okay, so we'll say the worst case scenario in any scenario is 3 months, 3 to 4 months on the narrative pass. Okay. So we're looking at a total of 4 months to get phase 1 done. Reasonable time, reasonable average time. I think I could get it done. I think I can manage that. Okay. So the question is here, should I continue on with it? Like I said, the pros are that assuming that I get done it in a reasonable amount of time, that means everything that I need is going to be there, even for puzzles and stuff. Even though puzzles will still take some time, it's all front loaded, okay? So, what would be a pro of starting over? Now, here's where it gets kind of dicey. I have all this work here. I'm probably not going to get rid of it. In fact, I'll probably reuse some of it. But it does mean I have to start that third over again. It means I have to figure out how to take all the existing pages and probably the original pages and um, and combine pages to where I only have a few pages to go through. So let's say I had 100, even though it's 93. I said I have 100, and at most I want 10. So I have to collapse at least 10 of the pages into a single page. So that at most I have 10 pages. Then I have to create story beats in between those 10 pages. Right? So and then there's the whether or not I can get that many statements onto a single page in the game. The advantage of doing this, the restart method, is that I should get it done in way less time. Um, it could take a month. It could take just a month for its thing, right? Of course, getting down to 10 pages and then it ballooning up to however many pages after that, 50 to 100, doesn't mean it's going to be super quick anyways. It's just going to be quicker than if I do it this ways. So that might not even be a pro at all. It might not be a pro to do that. But the risk here, uh, the risk of doing it the other way is that I lose a bunch of time, and it's the time I would have taken anyways. The the cons against doing this way is that it could take several years just to get through phase one, which is not ideal at all. So I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen or what. I haven't decided yet. I'm still leaning on going this ways, but if I go doing this ways, I'm gonna need to find a way of speeding up production like super fast. Okay, at least one a day, if not more than one a day. If I can do more than one a day, then I'll be ahead of the curve, and at least I can get this done. And I don't know. Like I said, the narrative version might be three to 4 months, even if I'm doing 4 pages a day. You know, so the only plus side is that I'll have less pages that I have to go through total. So I don't know. Anyways, that's gonna do it for today. I know I didn't get anything done today really, but that's kind of the way things work. And before I do my recording here, let's go to let's go to videos. And okay, so that's not what I want. Let's go into OBS. Let's go into clips, and these clips. Cut. Let's go to open a data stack, new tab, data stack. Let's go to game dev clips. Go to MKV sources. Create a new folder. Let's call it 00043. September. I think it's 9th. I think it's the 8th through the 19th. 8th through Sep 19th, 2025 sources. And let's just go ahead and paste these in here. Right? Okay. Right. This was a 30-minute deal. I chat with me and ChatGPT, and I might run it on a super speed thing. A couple of these I skipped. Actually, I accidentally skipped today. So, anyways, that's the MKV sources, and here, let's go ahead and do a. Actually, let's not do anything now. Um, I'll move the other ones over when I'm ready later. Okay, so in any case, I'm going to call it a day for part one, and I'll see you in part two, which will be about an hour. In fact, I'm a little bit late now, so I want to thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys in an hour. Thank you for watching part one. I'll see you later.